They thought we had no natural weapons. Then they saw our teeth. Part 1. First contact. Captain Jin stood at the airlock, back straight and chin up. Her heart beat fast, but her face stayed calm. Today, humans would meet aliens for the first time, face to face. Not just any aliens, but the Varrock, a powerful species that controlled many star systems. "Are you ready, Captain?" asked Officer Tay. He stood next to her, checking his translation device one last time. "As ready as I'll ever be," Jin said. She brushed a piece of lint from her crisp blue uniform. Earth Diplomatic Fleet had chosen her for this mission because she stayed calm under pressure. Now that calmness was being tested, the ship's computer spoke. "Varrock shuttle docking in 30 seconds. Jin looked at her small team. Officer Tay would handle communications. Officer Han, their science expert, carried scanning equipment to learn about the aliens' biology. Officer Day, head of security, stood slightly behind them, his hand resting near his sidearm just in case. "Remember," Jin told them, "we represent all of humanity today. Let's make a good first impression." The airlock hissed as pressure equalized between the ships. Jin felt the slight change in her ears. Then, with a mechanical whir, the heavy door slid open. The first thing Jin noticed was the smell, like cinnamon mixed with something metallic. Then came the sound, a soft clicking that reminded her of insects. Finally, she saw them. The Varrock were tall, much taller than humans. The first one ducked to enter the airlock, standing at least 7 feet high once inside. Its body was covered in a hard, shiny material, not quite scales, not quite armor, in shades of blue-green. Multiple limbs moved with strange grace. Where a human face would be, the Varrock had a complex arrangement of sensory organs and several eyes that caught the light like black diamonds. 4 more Varrock followed the first. They moved with careful precision, as if testing the gravity. Their bodies made small adjustments with each step. Jin stepped forward. "On behalf of Earth and all humanity, welcome aboard the Horizon. I am Captain Jin." A device on the lead Varrock's chest glowed. After a moment, it spoke in slightly mechanical English. "We are honored to meet the representatives of humanity. I am Ambassador Mrock of the Varrock Dominion." Mrock's head tilted, the multiple eyes focusing on Jin and then scanning each human in turn. Jin realized the Varrock was studying them, analyzing them. "Please follow me to our meeting room," Jin said, gesturing down the corridor. "We've prepared refreshments that our scientists believe will be compatible with your biology." The Varrock delegation followed, their movements making that gentle clicking sound as they walked. Jin noticed how they towered over her crew. Their limbs had visible ridges and spines, natural weapons built right into their bodies. In the meeting room, the humans sat on one side of a large table, the Varrock on the other. Officer Han discreetly activated scanning equipment, while Officer Tay's eyes narrowed in concentration as he listened to the aliens' untranslated sounds. "We have studied your transmissions for some time," Ambassador Mrock said. "Your species has accomplished much despite your limitations." Jin raised an eyebrow. "Limitations, Ambassador?" The Varrock made a gesture with 2 of its upper limbs. "Forgive me if I speak directly. It is the Varrock way. Your bodies are remarkably unprotected. No natural armor, no defensive spines, no venom, delivery systems. It is unusual to find an intelligent species with so few biological advantages." Officer Day stiffened slightly, but Jin gave him a small glance that told him to stay calm. "Different worlds create different evolutionary paths," Jin replied smoothly. "We've adapted in our own ways." "Indeed," Mrock said. 2 smaller Varrock behind him were making rapid clicking sounds to each other. "It makes your technological achievements all the more impressive. Most species develop technology as extensions of their natural weapons. You had to create everything from nothing." Jin wasn't sure if she was being complimented or pitied. "We're resilient," she said simply. The ambassador's translation device hummed as it processed Mrock's next words. "The Galactic Conquered will find you fascinating. 27 spacefaring species and none quite like humans." Officer Han leaned forward. "We're eager to learn about these other species." Our scientists have so many questions. In time, Murok said. First, we must complete the formal protocols of introduction. The Concord has specific procedures for welcoming new species, especially those requiring special protections. Jin felt a slight chill at these words. Special protections? Of course, Murok replied as if it were obvious. Species without natural defenses receive special status. The strong protect the vulnerable. It is the foundation of galactic civilization. The humans exchanged quick glances. This wasn't the equal partnership they had expected. We appreciate your concern, Jin said carefully, but humanity has defended itself successfully for thousands of years. The Varric made a sound that the translator didn't catch. Jin thought it might be laughter. Against other soft creatures, perhaps, Murok said. But the galaxy contains true predators. Species that evolved on death worlds where every living thing is a weapon. Without the Concord's protection, such species might see Earth as opportunity. Jin kept her diplomatic smile fixed in place, but her mind raced. They were being classified as prey. Weak. Defenseless. It wasn't just insulting, it could be dangerous for humanity's future. We look forward to learning more about the Concord's protection protocols, she said. But I assure you, Ambassador, humans are quite capable of self-preservation. One of the Varric in the back made a rapid series of clicks. Murok responded before turning back to Jin. Pardon my junior diplomat. He was merely observing that your species' confidence despite your physical fragility is admirable, if perhaps misplaced. Officer Tay caught Jin's eye, tapping his ear slightly. He had understood something in the untranslated Varric language. Jin made a mental note to speak with him privately. The meeting continued for another hour, with the Varric explaining basic facts about the Concord, while asking surprisingly simple questions about human biology and history. Jin felt increasingly like a specimen being studied rather than a diplomatic equal. When the meeting ended, the Varric returned to their shuttle, promising to come back the next day to continue discussions. As soon as they were gone, Jin gathered her team in the secure briefing room. They're underestimating us, Officer Day said immediately. They think we're weak. Officer Tay nodded. I caught some of their untranslated talk. They were discussing us like we're children or pets. One called us soft prey that learned to think. Jinami paced the room. This changes our approach. They're offering protection, but it sounds more like control. Their biology is fascinating, Officer Han added. Those exoskeletal elements, the multiple sensory organs, they evolved as predators, and they're measuring us by predator standards. Jin stopped pacing and looked at her team. Then we need to change how they see us. Not as prey to be protected, but as equals worthy of respect. She smiled slightly. Let them underestimate humans for now. History has shown that's usually a mistake. Outside the viewport of the horizon, the stars shone coldly in the blackness of space. Somewhere out there was the heart of this galactic Concord, a place where humanity would soon have to prove its worth. Jin had a feeling it wouldn't be as simple as signing a few treaties. The Varric thought humans had no natural weapons. Jin wondered how much they would need to learn about humanity before they understood just how wrong they were. 3 days had passed since the first meeting with the Varric. Captain Jin stood at the large window in the observation deck, watching stars streak by as the ship moved through space. The Horizon was now traveling alongside the much larger Varric vessel toward their homeworld. Captain, a voice said behind her. Jin turned to see Officer Tay entering the room with a tablet in his hand. I've compiled the language data from our meetings. I think you'll find it interesting. Jin took the tablet and reviewed the information. Her eyes widened slightly. They have 7 different words for prey, she noted, and we've been classified under their term for intelligent non-threat species. Tay nodded grimly. The translation devices aren't catching everything. When they think we aren't listening, they discuss us using these terms. Jin handed the tablet back. Keep monitoring. Knowledge is our best weapon right now. The door slid open again, and Ambassador Murok entered with 2 smaller Varric. The aliens' hard exoskeletons gleamed under the room's soft lighting. Captain Jin, Murok said with a slight bow of his upper body. I hope we are not interrupting. Not at all, Ambassador. Officer Tay and I were just discussing our journey. Mrock's multiple eyes focused on Jin in that unnerving way that made her feel like she was being scanned. We will reach the Varric homeworld in 2 standard days, the ambassador said. The council is eager to meet your species. They have many questions. Jin gestured to the seats around the observation room's small table. As do we. Perhaps we could use this time to learn more about the galactic Concord. The Varric settled themselves with that distinctive clicking sound of their exoskeletons, shifting. Officer Tay sat nearby, tablet ready. What would you like to know? Imrock asked. You mentioned special protections for species without natural defenses, Jin said carefully. Could you explain what that means exactly? The 2 smaller Varric made quick clicking sounds to each other before Mrock answered. Of course. The galaxy is not always kind to soft species, Mrock explained. The Concord categorizes all sentient beings. Your species would be Class 4, non-aggressive sentience. Other examples include the loom, who evolved as filter feeders, and the dasa, who are photosynthetic. Jin kept her expression neutral. And what rights do Class 4 species have in the Concord? Full rights to exist and develop under protection, Mrock said, as if this were generous. Varric and other Class 1 and 2 species would ensure your safety, manage potentially dangerous technology transfers, and oversee your resource management. Jin felt her back stiffen. Oversee our resource management? Ambassador, Earth has managed its own resources for thousands of years. Mrock's head tilted slightly. With respect, Captain, you have nearly depleted many of your natural resources already. The Concord can help prevent further damage. Officer Tay caught Jin's eye briefly. This wasn't just about protection. It was about control. And what of our autonomy? Jin asked. Our right to self-governance? All member species govern themselves, Mrock answered smoothly. Within parameters appropriate to their classification, of course. Of course, Jin echoed, her voice carefully neutral. Later that day, Jin gathered her team in the secure briefing room. Officer Han had completed his analysis of the biological scans he'd been secretly taking. The Varric evolved on a high-gravity world with extreme temperature shifts, Han explained, showing diagrams on the main screen. Their exoskeleton protects them from both physical damage and radiation. Those ridge-like structures on their limbs, they're not just for show. They can secrete a mild toxin. Predators, Officer Day said grimly. Just as we suspected. Natural predators, Han corrected. Their evolutionary history shaped them just as ours shaped us. The difference is they value these obvious physical advantages more than mental adaptability. Jin studied the diagrams. What about the other species in this Concord? Han switched to a new screen showing information they had gleaned from the Varric database. Most of the ruling species evolved similar advantages: natural armor, toxins, extreme strength, or speed. The protected species are mostly herbivores or filter feeders. Officer Tay leaned forward. They've placed us in the wrong category. Humans are omnivores. We evolved as persistence hunters. True, Han agreed, but we lack the obvious physical weapons they value. No claws, no significant teeth compared to theirs, no armor. Jin stood up and paced the room. They're judging us by their standards, not understanding our strengths. She stopped and looked at her team. What happens when we reach their homeworld? According to their protocols, Tay said, checking his tablet, we'll undergo formal assessment by the council. They'll confirm our classification and begin integration procedures. Integration, Jin repeated. You mean they'll decide how much freedom Earth gets? Day's hand clenched into a fist. This is unacceptable. We should contact Earth Command. Jin shook her head. We're too far out for real-time communication. By the time we get instructions, it would be too late. She took a deep breath. We need to change how they see us before we reach the council. How do we do that? Han asked. Jin thought for a moment. Officer Han, you said they value physical advantages. Could we demonstrate human physical capabilities? Our endurance? Our dexterity? Han looked uncertain. Possibly, but I doubt it would change their classification much. Their standards are based on natural weapons and defenses, not overall physical ability. What about our technology? Tay suggested. We could show them our advancements. They already know about our technology, Jin replied. They see it as impressive for soft creatures, but not enough to change our status. The room fell silent as they considered their options. Finally, Officer Day spoke up. We need to show. Then we're not defenseless without changing who we are, he said. We need to help them see us through new eyes. Jin looked at him. Do you have something in mind? Maybe, Day said. They respect natural weapons. Perhaps we need to help them recognize ours. The next morning, Jin invited Ambassador Mrock to join her for breakfast. The Varric seemed surprised but pleased by the invitation. In human culture, Jin explained as they sat at a table in the ship's dining area, sharing a meal is a way to build trust and understanding. Mrock clicked his upper limbs together. The Varric have similar customs, though our diets appear quite different. Jin's plate contained various earth foods, bread, fruit, and a small portion of synthesized protein. Mrock had been provided with nutrient blocks specifically formulated for Varric biology. As they ate, Jin asked questions about Varric culture and history, carefully steering the conversation toward evolutionary biology. Your species developed remarkable natural defenses, she noted. I imagine that shaped your civilization significantly. Indeed, Mrock agreed. Strong defenses allowed us to develop complex societies without constant fear of predation. Species without such advantages often struggle to advance beyond primitive stages. Jin took a bite of an apple, noticing how Mrock's eyes followed the movement. Yet here we are, she said after swallowing. Humans advance despite our supposed disadvantages. A fascinating exception, Mrock admitted. Though many in the Council believe your rapid advancement may prove dangerous without proper guidance, tools without instinctive restraint can lead to self-destruction. Jin set down her apple, noticing the clear bite mark in its flesh. Ambassador, do you truly believe humans have no natural weapons at all? Mrock's sensory appendages quivered slightly. Your biology is well documented. No claws, minimal muscle density compared to Class 1 and 2 species, no protective outer layer, no venom delivery system. Jin smiled slightly. There are many kinds of weapons, Ambassador. Some aren't obvious until they're used. Mrock's translation device was silent for a moment, as if processing her words. Finally, he responded, An interesting perspective, Captain. I look forward to learning more about your species' hidden strengths. As they finished their meal, Jin couldn't help but notice how Mrock watched her hands, her movements, with new curiosity. Perhaps the first seeds of doubt about human defenselessness had been planted. The massive Varric ship continued its journey toward their homeworld, carrying the human delegation closer to their moment of truth before the Council. Jin knew they had limited time to change the aliens' perception, to show them that humans were not helpless creatures to be protected and controlled, but equals worthy of respect. The assessment was coming, and humanity's future in the stars would depend on its outcome. The Varric homeworld loomed large in the viewscreen. It was a massive planet with swirling orange and red clouds covering much of its surface. Captain Jin stood on the bridge of the horizon as they approached the enormous space station in orbit around the planet. Varric Central Station, Officer Tay said, reading from his console. According to their database, it houses representatives from all 27 species in the galactic Concord. Jin nodded. Our first real test. Remember, we're not just representing Earth now, we're fighting for humanity's place in the galaxy. The horizon docked at the station with careful precision. Through the viewports, Jin could see the strange architecture of the station, all hard angles and protective outer layers, much like the Varric themselves. Ambassador Mrock met them at the airlock. Welcome to Varric Central Station, he said. The Council has arranged a reception to formally welcome humanity to the galactic community. Jin and her team followed Mrock through wide corridors filled with aliens of various shapes and sizes. Most were tall, with obvious natural weapons, sharp spines, thick scales, or powerful limbs. The humans drew many curious stares. "They're all watching us," Officer Day whispered, his hand instinctively hovering near his sidearm. "Let them look," Jin replied quietly. "We have nothing to hide." They entered a massive hall decorated with symbols from various worlds. Tables filled with strange foods and drinks lined the walls. At least 60 aliens were already there, talking in groups. "The smaller green ones are the Draxus," Mrock explained, pointing to a group of reptilian beings with ridge-like bone structures protruding from their arms. "They control 3 solar systems rich in minerals. The tall blue creatures are the Kel, masters of biological science." Jin noticed how Mrock described each species by their resources or skills, not their culture or history. The Galactic Concord seemed more like a business arrangement than a true alliance. "And what will humanity bring to the Concord?" Jin asked. Mrock's translation device hummed. "Your world has abundant water, diverse organic compounds, and unique biological specimens. These resources will be valued." "Our resources," Jin corrected him. "Not just resources." Mrock made a gesture that might have been the Varric equivalent of a shrug. "Of course, under protection, your species will maintain supervised access to your planet's assets." Jin felt her patience wearing thin, but maintained her diplomatic smile. "Ambassador, I believe there's been a misunderstanding about Earth status. We came here to discuss equal membership in your Concord, not to surrender our sovereignty." Before Mrock could respond, they were approached by 3 Draxus. The reptilian aliens moved with quick, jerky motions that reminded Jin of Earth lizards. "There you are, humans," one of them said through a translation device. "We have heard much about you." The translator gave the Draxus a hissing voice that made Jin's skin crawl. "I am Captain Jin of Earth," she said with a polite bow. "This is my team. Officer Tay, Officer Han, and Officer Day." The lead Draxus inspected them with vertical slit eyes. "So soft," it said, reaching out as if to touch Jin's arm. Officer Day stepped slightly forward, and the Draxus pulled back its hand. "Your protection instinct is strong," the Draxus noted, looking at Day. "Admirable in a species with no natural defenses." Jin intervened smoothly. "Different worlds breed different strengths, as I'm sure you know. Humans have adapted to our environment, just as your species adapted to yours." The Draxus made a sound that the translator didn't catch. Jin guessed it might be laughter or scorn. "The Varric tell us your world has many valuable elements," another Draxus said. "Rare metals, extensive water supplies, and unusual biological compounds. We look forward to establishing mining operations." Jin's diplomatic mask slipped slightly. "Mining operations on Earth?" "Once your protection status is formalized," the first Draxus explained, "the Concord will allocate your world's resources appropriately. As your protectors, we ensure fair distribution." Jin felt cold anger rising inside her. She looked at Mrock, who had been silently observing the exchange. "Ambassador, is this true?" she asked. "Is Earth to be carved up and distributed once we accept protection?" Mrock's sensory appendages twitched. "The arrangement is beneficial to all. Protected species receive security, technology, and guidance. In exchange, their resources support the conquered." "That's not an alliance," Jin said, firmly. "That's colonization." The lead Draxus hissed something to Mrock in their own language. Officer Tay, who had been quietly monitoring their untranslated speech, tensed visibly. "Perhaps," Mrock said carefully, "you misunderstand your position, Captain. Non-aggressive species don't have voting rights in conquered matters. Your planet's resources are now under conquered protection and allocation." Jin felt the weight of those words. They had never intended to treat humans as equals. This was a carefully orchestrated takeover, dressed up as diplomatic outreach. The reception continued around them, with various alien species watching the humans with newfound interest. Jin noticed how they were being assessed, not as potential allies but as new assets to be claimed. "Would you care to sample some refreshments?" Mrock asked, clearly trying to change the subject. "Our nutritionists have prepared foods compatible with human biology." Jin followed him to a table laden with various items. Some looked like fruits, others like small cakes. She picked up something that resembled an apple but had a tough, leathery skin. This is a callan fruit, Marak explained. Very nutritious, though the outer layer is quite tough. Most species use tools to open it. Jin saw several alien delegates watching her, waiting to see how the soft, defenseless human would manage. She caught Officer Day's eye across the room. He gave her a slight nod. It was time to change the narrative. Instead of looking for a tool, Jin brought the fruit directly to her mouth. With deliberate slowness, she bit into it. Her teeth, flat in front but with sharp canines and powerful molars, tore through the tough skin with a loud crack. The sound echoed in the sudden silence that fell around them. Jin chewed slowly, the sweet juice of the fruit filling her mouth. She swallowed and took another bite, maintaining eye contact with Marak. The Varek's sensory appendages were vibrating rapidly. Several nearby alien representatives stepped back. The Draxus made a high, alarmed sound. "Is something wrong?" Jin asked innocently, taking another bite. "You have..." Marak seemed at a loss for words. "Your mouth contains... teeth?" Jin finished for him, smiling now to show her full set of teeth. "Yes, all humans have them. They're quite useful." The Draxus pushed forward. "They have bone structures in their mouths," it hissed urgently to Marak. "Cutting and crushing implements built into their faces." Jin wiped juice from her lips. "Surely you knew about human dentition, Ambassador. It's basic biology." But it was clear from the reaction that they hadn't understood, hadn't truly comprehended that humans carried a set of natural weapons in their mouths. To species without such features, the sight of teeth tearing through tough material was clearly shocking. Officer Han stepped forward. "Human teeth include incisors for cutting, canines for tearing, and molars for grinding," he explained calmly, as if giving a simple science lesson. "Standard omnivore dentition. We evolved as hunter-gatherers." The word hunter caused another ripple of movement among the alien delegates. Jin saw Officer Tay hiding a smile. The narrative was shifting before their eyes. "You're not herbivores," Marak said slowly, as if just realizing this fact. "We're omnivores," Jin corrected. "We eat both plants and animals. Our ancestors were persistence hunters who chased prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. Then they used these," she pointed to her teeth, "to process their food." Around the reception hall, delegates were whispering to each other. Jin heard snatches of translated conversations, deceptive biology, hidden weapons, reassessment needed. "This changes matters," Marak said finally. "The council must be informed immediately." As he hurried away, Jin caught Officer Day's eye again. He gave her a slight nod of approval. It wasn't much, just teeth, a basic biological feature that humans took for granted. But to these aliens who categorized species by their natural weapons, it changed everything. "Captain," Officer Tay said quietly, coming to her side, "I believe we've just been upgraded from helpless herbivore to potential threat." Jin finished the fruit with one last bite. "Good," she said. "It's about time." They saw us clearly. The reception hall had turned into chaos. Alien delegates formed small groups, talking quickly in their native languages. Many kept looking at Jin and her team with new caution in their eyes. "They have bone weapons in their mouths," one of the Draxus was saying loudly to anyone who would listen. "Sharp cutting tools hidden in their faces." Officer Tay couldn't help but smile as he listened to the translations. "It's like they've discovered we've been hiding knives all along," he whispered. To Jin, a tall blue alien that Marak had identified as a Kel approached them. This creature moved with flowing grace, its 4 long arms ending in delicate fingers. "Is it true?" the Kel asked through its translator. "All humans have these bone structures?" "Yes," Jin replied. "We call them teeth. They're completely natural and normal for our species." The Kel's large eyes blinked rapidly. "Fascinating. Are they only for cutting food, or do humans use them for other purposes?" Jin thought carefully before answering. She didn't want to portray humans as violent, but she also needed the aliens to understand that humans weren't defenseless. Throughout our early history, Teeth were sometimes used defensively, she explained. Even today, in extreme situations, a human might bite to protect themselves. This answer sent the Kell hurrying back to its group, where it shared this information with obvious excitement. "Captain," Officer Hahn said quietly, "I believe our classification is being reconsidered as we speak." Jin nodded. "That was the goal. But we need to be careful now. We don't want to seem threatening, just capable." 20 minutes later, Ambassador Murrock returned with several important-looking Varek. Their exoskeletons had elaborate markings that Jin guessed indicated high rank. "Captain Jin," Murrock said formally, "the Council requests your immediate presence. Your team will be escorted to new quarters while the situation is assessed." "The situation?" Jin asked, raising an eyebrow. "You mean the discovery that humans have teeth?" One of the high-ranking Varek stepped forward. "Your species presented incomplete biological information," it said through its translator. "This requires reevaluation." "We presented no incomplete information," Jin replied firmly. "You made assumptions based on our appearance." The Varek clicked their limbs in what seemed like disagreement. "You will come with us now," Murrock said. It wasn't a request. Jin looked at her team. "My officers come with me," she said. "We represent Earth together." After a brief discussion among themselves, the Varek agreed. Jin and her team were led out of the reception hall through a different corridor than the one they had entered through. This area of the station had higher ceilings and wider doorways, clearly designed for larger species. "They're taking us to the Predator section," Officer Hahn whispered, looking at his scanner. "The environmental controls here are set for Class 1 and 2 species." Jin felt a small victory in that change. At least they weren't being treated as helpless herbivores anymore. They entered a large chamber with a circular table in the center. Around it sat representatives from what appeared to be 6 different species. All had visible natural weapons. The ridged limbs of the Draxus, the massive jaws of a species Jin didn't recognize, the venomous-looking spines of another. "The Emergency Assessment Committee," Murrock explained, gesturing for the humans to stand in the center of the room. A massive, insect-like being clicked its mandibles together before speaking through a translator. "We are reviewing humanity's classification," it said. "New evidence suggests you may have been incorrectly categorized." Jin stood tall. "Humanity came here seeking equal partnership, not classification. We are what we are, a species that evolved on Earth with our own strengths and adaptations." "Show us," commanded one of the Draxus. "Show us these hidden weapons again." Jin felt like she was in a zoo being asked to perform, but this was too important to let pride get in the way. She looked around and spotted a bowl of what appeared to be tough-skinned fruit similar to the one she had eaten earlier. She picked one up, brought it to her mouth, and bit down hard. The crack echoed in the chamber as her teeth broke through the skin. She took a bite, chewed, and swallowed. "All humans have these teeth," she explained, motioning to her team. Officers Tay, Han, and Day each took a fruit and bit into them, showing their own sets of teeth. The committee members leaned forward, watching with fascination and what Jin thought might be concern. "Bone structures," one of them said. "Natural, cutting tools built into their biology. And you use these to consume animal flesh?" asked another member. Officer Han took over. "Humans are omnivores. We eat both plant and animal matter. Our digestive systems and teeth evolved to handle both." "Hunters," said the insect-like alien, its voice coming through the translator with an ominous click. "Your species hunts other creatures." "We did," Jin admitted. "Now we mostly raise animals or create synthetic proteins. But yes, our ancestors were hunters." "And in war?" asked a Draxus. "Do humans use these teeth weapons against enemies?" Jin shook her head. "We developed tools and weapons early in our evolution. We rarely use teeth in combat." This seemed to confuse the committee, the large insect being conferred with others before turning back to Jin. "If you possess natural weapons, why develop artificial ones?" Jin thought about human history, about how tools had allowed humans to overcome their physical limitations. "Because we could," she said simply. "Humans aren't defined by their natural weapons. We're defined by our ability to adapt, to create, to solve problems. Officer Han stepped forward. Human teeth are just one small example of our biology. More important is our brain capacity, our endurance, our ability to work together as teams. The committee discussed among themselves in their various languages. Jin caught pieces of the translation: unpredictable, adaptable, potential threat, reclassification necessary. Finally, the insect being addressed them again. Humanity will be provisionally reclassified as Class 2, Evolved Omnivorous Sentience. This changes your status within the conquered framework. Jin felt a surge of hope. And what does this new classification mean for Earth? Class 2 species maintain territorial autonomy, the alien explained. Resource sharing is negotiated rather than allocated. Protection is mutual rather than imposed. It was exactly what they had wanted, to be seen as equals, not as helpless creatures to be protected and exploited. However, the Draxis representative added, this reclassification requires confirmation by the full council. You will present your case tomorrow. Jin nodded. We'll be ready. As they were escorted out, Officer Day moved closer to Jin. That went well, he said quietly. But I think there's more to this than just teeth. What do you mean? Jin asked. Did you notice how surprised they were that we developed tools even though we have natural weapons? It's like they can't understand why we would innovate beyond our biology. Jin thought about this. They evolved with powerful natural advantages and built their society around them. We evolved with different advantages, our brains, our endurance, our adaptability. Exactly, Day said, and that might be harder for them to understand than teeth. When they reached their new quarters, larger and with better facilities than their previous ones, Jin gathered her team. Tomorrow is crucial, she told them. We've changed their perception of us physically, but we need to help them understand humanity's true strengths. Officer Han nodded. I've been analyzing the database. Most conquered species evolved direct solutions to their environmental challenges: armor against predators, venom against threats, strength to overcome obstacles. While humans evolved indirect solutions, Tay added. We created tools, we problem-solved, we cooperated. Jin looked at each of them. Then that's what we need to show them tomorrow. Not just that we have teeth, but that we have something potentially more powerful. What's that? Day asked. Jin smiled. The ability to adapt, to change, to become more than our biology intended. As night fell on the station, or what passed for night in the artificial day cycle, Jin stood at the viewport in her quarters looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, waiting to hear if they would join the galactic community as equals or as subjects. Tomorrow would determine which it would be. Morning came quickly on the station. Captain Jin and her team prepared carefully for their meeting with the full council. They wore their best uniforms and reviewed their strategy one last time. Remember, Jin told her officers, today isn't just about teeth. It's about showing them who humans really are. Officer Han looked up from his tablet. I've compiled the key points about human evolutionary advantages: our endurance, our problem-solving, our social cooperation. Good. Jin nodded. Officer Tay, how's your understanding of their languages coming along? Better, Tay replied. I can now catch about 60% of the untranslated Varric speech and some of the Draxis language too. Officer Day adjusted his uniform. Should we expect trouble? The Draxis seemed particularly unhappy about our reclassification. Jin considered. This. Not physical trouble, but they'll challenge us. Be ready for difficult questions. A chime at the door announced Ambassador Marok's arrival. The Varric's posture seemed different today, straighter, more formal. Jin noticed he kept more distance between them than before. The council awaits, Marok said simply. They followed him through the station's wide corridors. Other aliens moved aside as they passed, eyeing the humans with new interest and caution. Word had clearly spread about the species with hidden bone, weapons in their faces, The council chamber was enormous, with high ceilings and seats arranged in tiered semicircles. Representatives from all 27 species were present. Some were physically massive, others small but with obvious defensive features. All watched the humans enter. At the center of the chamber was a raised platform. Jin and her team were directed to stand there, literally in the spotlight as illumination beams focused on them. The largest alien Jin had seen yet, a massive mantis-like creature with an elaborate exoskeleton, stepped forward from the highest tier. "I am High Counselor Vex of the Galactic Concord," it said through a translator. "This special session will determine humanity's proper classification and status within our community." Jin stepped forward. "We appreciate this opportunity to clarify our species' nature and capabilities." The High Counselor's compound eyes reflected the light as it surveyed the human team. "Yesterday, it was discovered that humans possess natural weapons that were not initially apparent. Is this correct?" "Our teeth are not hidden weapons," Jin clarified. "They are simply part of our biology that your assessment overlooked." A murmur went through the council. Jin heard the translation of some comments. "Deceptive, misleading, dangerous." "Do all humans possess these bone structures?" asked. A Draxus representative, Officer Han, answered, "Yes. All humans are born with teeth, though we initially develop small teeth as infants that fall out and are replaced by larger adult teeth." This caused another stir among the council members. The idea of losing and regrowing bone weapons seemed to disturb them. "And you use these weapons for?" asked a blue Kell. "They're not weapons," Jin explained patiently. "They're primarily tools for eating. Humans are omnivores. We eat both plants and animal products. Our teeth evolved to help us process different types of food." "Yet they can be used as weapons," insisted the Draxus. Jin nodded. "In extreme circumstances, yes. Just as any species might use whatever natural advantages they have when threatened." The High Counselor tapped a long limb against the podium. "Based on this new understanding of human biology, the Emergency Committee has recommended reclassifying humanity as Class 2. However, some council members have concerns about this change." A new alien stepped forward, a short, stocky being with thick plates covering its body. "Humans have hidden their true nature," it accused. "What else might they be concealing? Perhaps they should remain under supervision until we fully understand them." Jin felt frustration rising but kept her voice calm. "We have hidden nothing. We came here openly, seeking equal partnership. It was the Concord that made assumptions about our capabilities based on our appearance." Officer Han stepped forward. "If I may, I would like to share some facts about human evolution that might help the Council understand our species better." The High Counselor nodded permission. Han activated a small projector he had brought. Images appeared in the air above. Them human evolution from early hominids to modern humans. "Humans did not evolve powerful claws, venom, or armor," Han explained. "Instead, we developed different advantages." The images showed early humans hunting in groups, making tools, building shelters, creating fire. "Our first advantage is endurance," Han continued. "Humans can travel longer distances without rest than almost any other land animal on our planet. Our ancestors would chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion." "Your second advantage?" asked the High Counselor, sounding genuinely curious. "Problem solving," Han said. "Human brains evolved to find creative solutions. When we couldn't run as fast as our prey, we invented spears. When we couldn't fly, we built aircraft. When we couldn't survive in space, we created spacecraft." Iriel watched the council members' reactions. Some seemed intrigued, others concerned. "And your third advantage?" asked the blue Kell. "Cooperation," Han said simply. "Humans form complex social structures. We work together, combining our individual strengths. One human alone might be vulnerable, but humans in groups accomplish amazing things." Jin stepped forward again. "The teeth you discovered yesterday are just a small part of what makes humans who we are. Yes, they show that we're not defenseless herbivores, but more importantly, they're a reminder that appearances can be deceiving." "Explain," demanded the High Counselor. "You classified us based on what you could immediately see," Jin said. You saw no claws, no armor, no obvious weapons, so you assumed we were weak. That was a mistake. Throughout our history, those who underestimated humans have regretted it. The chamber fell silent as the council members considered her words. Finally, the High Counselor spoke. What status does humanity seek within the Concord? Equal partnership, Jin said firmly. We respect your experience and knowledge of the galaxy. We look forward to learning from you, but Earth will maintain its independence and control of its own resources. And what does humanity offer in return? Asked the Draxus representative. Jin smiled slightly. New perspectives, different solutions to old problems, and yes, access to some of Earth's unique resources through fair trade, not allocation. The council members conferred among themselves, their various languages creating a strange symphony of clicks, hisses, and rumbles. Officer Tay listened carefully, occasionally whispering translations to Jin. They're divided, he told her quietly. Some see our adaptability as valuable, others as threatening. After what seemed like hours, the High Counselor raised a limb for silence. The Council has reached a decision, it announced. Humanity will be classified as Class 2, evolved omnivorous sentience with high technological adaptation. This classification recognizes both your natural physical attributes and your species' unique adaptive capabilities. Jin felt a wave of relief but kept her expression neutral. Earth will be granted provisional membership in the Galactic Concord, with full territorial sovereignty, the High Counselor continued. Resource sharing will be negotiated through standard trade protocols. No protection arrangement will be imposed. It was everything they had hoped for. Jin bowed slightly to show respect. Humanity thanks the Council for this fair assessment, she said. We look forward to a productive relationship with all species of the Concord. As the session ended, Ambassador Marak approached Jin. The Varric seemed different now, less condescending, more curious. Your teeth, he said quietly. They're not just for show, are they? Jin smiled, this time with closed lips. No, Ambassador. But neither are our minds, our determination, or our capacity for friendship. Remember that about humans. We're always more than we appear. On the journey back to Earth, Jin spent many hours preparing her report. How would she explain to Earth's leaders that humanity had secured its place among the stars, partly because of teeth? Something so ordinary that no human would think of it as special? As the horizon traveled through space, Jin looked out at the stars and thought about perception. The Varric and other aliens had seen humans as weak because they looked for the wrong signs of strength. They had learned an important lesson, one that would serve both humanity and the Conquered well in the years to come. Never judge a species by its appearance. Sometimes the most ordinary things can turn out to be surprising advantages when seen through different eyes. And sometimes, a simple smile can change everything.